The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 years. Its members included species that could bend light, races that had mastered gravity manipulation, and civilizations that traveled between stars using teleportation gates. They had conquered disease, eliminated scarcity, and built empires spanning millions of worlds. When they discovered humanity, they laughed. Admiral Rand of the Dominion was the first to study Earth. His species had evolved on a paradise world with gentle weather and abundant resources. They had developed teleportation technology before they even invented the wheel. Why walk when you could simply appear where you wanted to be? His report to the council was brief and dismissive. They are primitives, he wrote. They still use chemical propulsion. They burn dead plants to generate electricity. Their weapons fire metal projectiles using explosive powder. They have not even discovered dimensional folding. Give them 10,000 years, and perhaps they will be ready for contact. The council agreed. Humanity was placed in Category 7, species too primitive for inclusion, too weak for conquest, and too unimportant for attention. The file was closed, and the galaxy forgot about the small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. 50 years passed. Humanity did not sit idle. Commander Sarah stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's first interstellar warship. She was 42 years old, born in Singapore, trained in the orbital academies above Mars. Behind her, a crew of 300 worked at their stations. The ship hummed with power from its fusion reactors. Along its hull, 16 electromagnetic batteries waited in silence. Each cannon could accelerate a tungsten slug to 15% of light speed. At that velocity, even a small piece of metal carried the energy of a nuclear weapon. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission," her communications officer reported. "It is coming from the alien fleet." Sarah nodded. 3 days ago, the Dominion had arrived in the Sol system. 20 warships, each 1 kilometer long, had appeared near Jupiter without warning. They had simply teleported in, their dimensional gates tearing holes in space itself. They had come to claim humanity as a servant species. They expected no resistance. "Put it on screen," Sarah ordered. Admiral Rand appeared on the. He was tall and elegant, with pale blue skin and large eyes that reflected centuries of genetic perfection. Behind him, his bridge crew worked at stations made of crystalline light. Everything about them screamed advancement. Their technology was beautiful, refined, and utterly beyond human understanding. "Primitive creatures," Rand said. His voice was calm, almost bored. "Your extinction is not necessary. Surrender your world, accept your place as laborers in our empire, and you will be allowed to live. Resist, and we will simply erase you from existence." Sarah smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Admiral, I have studied your reports about humanity. You called us primitives. You said our weapons were toys. You believed that because we had not discovered teleportation or dimensional folding, we were beneath your notice." She leaned forward in her chair. "You made a mistake." Rand laughed. The sound was melodic, almost pleasant. "What mistake could we possibly have made? Your ships use propulsion engines. They take months to travel between planets. Our vessels can cross the galaxy in moments. You fire metal slugs at your enemies. We manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. There is no comparison." "The comparison," Sarah said quietly, "is that while you were learning to teleport, we were learning to fight." She cut the transmission and turned to her tactical officer. "Lieutenant, target the flagship. Fire all forward batteries." The Defiance shuddered as 8 cannons discharged simultaneously. 8 tungsten slugs, each weighing 100 kilograms, screamed across the void at 45,000 kilometers per second. They had energy shields, yes. They could stop laser beams and plasma bolts. They could even deflect antimatter weapons. They could not stop pure kinetic force traveling at relativistic speeds. The slugs struck the flagship in less than a second. They punched through the energy shields like they were not even there. They tore through the crystalline hull as if it were made of paper. The first slug vaporized the bridge, killing Admiral Rand before he even understood what was happening. The remaining slugs continued through the ship, each one releasing its kinetic energy in catastrophic explosions. The flagship, 3 kilometers of advanced alien technology, broke apart in a storm of fire and debris. The battle lasted 11 minutes. The commanders tried to respond. They fired their reality-bending weapons, but the human ships were too fast, too maneuverable. They had never needed to develop combat tactics. For 12,000 years, they had simply teleported behind their enemies and erased them with superior technology. They had forgotten that war was not about elegance. War was about violence applied with precision and overwhelming force. Human fired again and again. Each shot was a hammer blow that the shields could not stop. Human missiles, loaded with nuclear warheads, followed the slugs. They detonated inside the holes that the kinetic weapons had created. Ships died screaming, their crews unable to comprehend how primitives could destroy them so easily. When the last vessel exploded, Commander allowed herself a single moment of satisfaction. Then she began preparing for what would come next. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Dominion had been defeated. 20 warships, representing of technological advancement, had been destroyed by a species that still burned hydrocarbons for fuel. The Galactic Council demanded an explanation. When the surviving officers provided their reports, no one believed them. "Impossible," declared High Counselor Ara of the Synthesis Collective. "Kinetic weapons cannot penetrate energy shields. This is basic physics." "Basic physics for weapons traveling at normal speeds," an officer replied. His voice was hollow, broken by what he had witnessed. "The humans accelerate their projectiles to significant fractions of light speed. At those velocities, the kinetic energy overwhelms our shield generators. They simply burn out trying to stop the impact." "Then why have we not developed such weapons ourselves?" The officer was silent for a long moment. "Because we never needed to. We developed teleportation early in our history. We never had wars like the humans did. We never spent centuries perfecting the art of killing each other." The council fell silent. They began to study humanity more carefully, and what they found terrified them. Humans had been fighting wars for their entire existence. Their history was written in blood. They had developed nuclear weapons and used them against each other. They had created biological agents capable of wiping out entire populations. They had built machines designed for nothing but killing, and they had refined those machines for generation after generation. Every major technological advancement in human history had been driven by war. Rockets had been developed to deliver bombs. Computers had been built to break enemy codes. Even the internet had started as a military communication system. The Galactic Council had assumed that advanced technology and combat capability were the same thing. They were wrong. Humanity had developed separately, in isolation, on a hostile planet that tried to kill them every single day. They had evolved as predators, and they had never stopped being predators. 6 months after the Battle of Saul, humanity launched its first offensive. A fleet of 50 warships jumped to the using captured teleportation technology. They had expected years of research before humans could understand their dimensional gates. The humans reverse-engineered the technology in weeks. They did not understand the elegant mathematical principles behind it. They simply figured out which buttons to push and which circuits to connect. The fell in 3 days. Its orbital defenses, designed to stop elegant energy weapons, crumbled under the barrage of fire. Human Marines, wearing powered armor and carrying weapons that fired explosive rounds, swept through cities that had never known violence. They surrendered when Commander's forces captured their capital. The message to the Galactic Council was simple. Humanity had taken the Dominion. They would take more if provoked. They were not interested in joining the existing galactic order. They were interested in changing it. Panic spread through the council. Some members called for immediate military action. Others argued for negotiation. A few suggested simply leaving humanity alone and hoping they would not expand further. None of these options seemed viable. The Synthesis Collective attempted to form a coalition against humanity. 17 species, commanding over 2,000 warships, gathered at the Nexus Point, a strategic location that controlled access to 40 inhabited systems. They believed that their combined forces would overwhelm the human fleet. They were wrong. Humanity arrived with 100 ships. Each vessel carried improved, now capable of accelerating projectiles to 20% of light speed. Each ship also carried something new, self-replicating nanobots designed to consume enemy hull material and reproduce. The nanobots spread through the coalition fleet like a plague. Ships that were not destroyed by fire were eaten from the inside. The Battle of Nexus Point lasted 4 hours. The coalition lost every ship. Humanity lost 12 vessels and suffered fewer than 2,000 casualties. The surviving coalition members immediately sued for peace. Within 5 years, humanity controlled 20% of the galaxy. Within 10 years, they controlled half. They did not conquer through brutality alone. They offered fair terms to species that surrendered without fighting. They shared technology freely with those who joined their alliance. They were ruthless in war but generous in peace. The old Galactic Council dissolved. A new order emerged, with humanity at its center. Commander, now Fleet Admiral, became the first human to address the assembled species of the galaxy. "You called us primitives," she said. "You believed that because we developed differently, we were inferior. You thought that elegant technology and advanced mathematics made you better than us, but you forgot something important." She paused, looking out at the hundreds of alien representatives watching her. "You forgot that evolution does not reward elegance. It rewards survival. For millions of years, humanity survived on a planet that tried to kill us. We fought against predators, against disease, against each other. We became very, very good at surviving." She smiled, and for a moment, every species in the galaxy understood why humans were so dangerous. "Your arrogance made you believe that teleportation and dimensional folding were the pinnacles of advancement. You never considered that a species might perfect violence before they perfected travel. You never imagined that someone might build before." Admiral turned and walked away from the podium. Behind her, the galaxy's representatives sat in stunned silence. They had learned an important lesson. The universe was not kind, and elegance did not guarantee survival. Sometimes, the primitive species that learned to fight first were the ones that conquered everything. Humanity had proven that lesson with fire and steel, and the unstoppable force of metal traveling at relativistic speeds. The galaxy would never forget it.